Maid hired to clean beautiful home can hardly contain herself when she finds out who owns it. Housekeepers have one of the most thankless jobs in the world. The physically demanding job requires them to clean up after people they don't even know, oftentimes for very little in return. Still, housekeepers power through the dirty work, especially if it means they're putting food on the table for their family. This was exactly the case for single mother Kara Simmons, who was sent to clean a home that would end up changing her life. As a single mother of 3 kids, 36-year-old Kara Simmons of Cleveland, Ohio, hardly took a day to herself. Any parent knows what it's like to put your children's lives before your own, and Simmons was no exception. To make ends meet, she worked as a housekeeper. She was never one to take a day off, and it seemed that vacations were simply out of the question. Little did Simmons know people took notice of her hard work. Simmons worked so hard that she even put her own health on the back burner. The stress of her job caused her to get stomach ulcers. Eventually, she discovered she had undiagnosed ulcerative colitis, which had her in and out of the hospital on multiple occasions. During that time, Simmons struggled to pay rent. She even had to send her kids to stay with other people since she wasn't well enough to take them to school anymore. Despite her health issues, Simmons went right back to work when she was able. Every day she was dedicated to her housekeeping job because, of course, being able to provide for her family was her top priority. Even Kara's teen daughters and 6-year-old son knew how hard their mother worked for them. "She cares about us very much," her children said. "Not just us, but like anybody. If anybody needed something, she'll be there," one of her daughters added. Simmons' hard work and dedication didn't go unnoticed. Simmons worked for a housekeeping company called Maid, where her boss Mary Jo couldn't deny Simmons' incredible work ethic. When a new assignment came around, Mary Jo knew just the person for the job. She sent Simmons to clean a house, making sure to note that the client was very important. Simmons knew that she couldn't mess things up that day. When Simmons arrived at the client's home in Cleveland Heights that day, she was greeted by a woman named Madeline Blue. Blue explained that she had already cleaned the house but still needed Simmons' assistance in setting up for a party that night. Simmons, whose job was to clean the house initially, obliged since she wasn't sent there for no reason. After all, she wouldn't have wanted to disappoint her employers. The moment Simmons agreed to continue helping set up the party, Blue put her to task right away. The first thing she did was take Simmons into the kitchen and introduce her to world-renowned chef Manny Slomovitz. Slomovitz was hired to prepare a 6-course meal for the event and needed someone to help him taste test. Blue asked Simmons if she would do it, and though she was surprised, she couldn't say no. Simmons was a bit unsure about her first task. It definitely wasn't a normal thing to be invited to sit down for a meal in a client's home, let alone 6 meals. But because Simmons was told this client was very important, and because she cared about her job, she had no choice but to do as she was asked. As he prepared the meal, Chef Manny started getting to know Simmons. He asked her what her favorite food was, and she immediately said spaghetti. "I have 3 kids at home, and they all like it," Simmons told Chef Manny. With her favorite food being the same as theirs, it was clear that Simmons cared deeply about her children and often put their happiness before her own. The food that Simmons was about to taste, however, was a far cry from spaghetti. The first meal that Chef Manny placed in front of Simmons was a California salad with South African Tristan lobster meat. Simmons was surprised when she first saw it, but she was absolutely shocked when Chef Manny told her that the lobster can cost up to $500. Simmons says, "I just want to save it, it's so nice," and even took pictures with her phone because she knew no one would believe this was happening to her. The salad was only the beginning. Chef Manny encouraged Simmons to enjoy herself, especially since she had 6 more courses to go. Simmons also tasted other bites like lobster cappuccino, sweet lobster tail, quail egg and basil oil, butternut squash ravioli, lobster lollipops, and edible gold vinaigrette. She also got to taste colossal jumbo shrimp and Kobe beef steak. The real kicker was the $4,000 per pound Italian white truffle that Manny generously shaved onto her plate. After all that deliciously expensive food, Simmons' taste testing duties were still not over yet. Next, she got to sample all the desserts on the menu that night: pumpkin cheesecake, chocolate turtle brownie, chocolate mousse, as well as yuzu and salted caramel bonbons. At this point, Simmons was having the time of her life. It was easy to forget that she was there on duty, but it wasn't long before her next task was up. As Simmons was enjoying dessert, a pair of masseurs arrived for the event's massage and reflexology station. The masseuses asked if they could have someone to warm up their hands with so that they wouldn't get hand cramps. Blue asked Simmons if she would volunteer to do it. Simmons wondered out loud what is going on, but she obliged to help them out. She sat down in their chair for a forehand massage. "You got a nice employer to let us practice on you," one of the masseuses told Simmons. They asked her about her job as a maid, and she told them it was therapeutic at times when she has a lot on her mind. She admitted that she sometimes goes home from work just to clean her house. Simmons even said that she didn't feel like she was busy, but Blue told her to stay put because what she was doing was important. Next, Blue called her to the upstairs of the home to help out with some actual cleaning. Blue explained she was cleaning out her closet and had a bunch of designer clothes she wanted to get rid of. She asked Simmons to look through the pile and pick out whatever she wanted to keep. Simmons was a bit apprehensive at first, but Blue insisted since she said she was going to get rid of it anyway. Blue helped Simmons try on the clothes, including $250 designer heels, a jade necklace, a gold watch, a couture top, and a pea coat. "Try 'em on and have a seat," Blue insisted. Simmons was surely in disbelief over what her client was asking her to do. After trying on the clothes, Blue told Simmons, "You look great. This stuff is totally you." Simmons couldn't believe the assignment her employer sent her on at that point. After a fabulous 6-course taste test, an impromptu massage, and some new clothes, it's a wonder how Simmons didn't forget she was there on a job assignment. When the doorbell rang, Blue asked Simmons if she would answer it. It turned out to be some movers who began unloading boxes into the house. At that point, Blue asked Simmons to start helping unload them. She got straight to work, but when she opened the first box, she couldn't believe her eyes. Simmons began unloading the boxes as the movers brought in more. Simmons opened the first box, and as she got further into it, she became increasingly confused. She first recognized a vase that looked strangely familiar to the one she owned in her own house. But things really started getting weird when she pulled out one of her own sweaters and a framed picture of herself. Simmons truly didn't know what was going on. Simmons had never set foot in that house before the day she arrived to clean it, so she didn't understand why her own stuff was being sent there. As the movers came in with more boxes, Simmons tried to make them aware of the confusion. When she told him the boxes were filled with her own stuff, the mover pulled out his clipboard and said, "It says here that these items are for the woman who lives here in this house." The mover clarified that the boxes and the house belonged to a Miss Simmons, and Blue added, "Yes, Miss Simmons is my boss." When the mover said the owner was Kara Simmons, Simmons was absolutely confused. That was indeed her name, and the boxes were definitely filled with her stuff, but she knew she didn't live in that house. But when the mover and Blue began insisting that she lived there, they took her outside to clear things up. When she stepped outside, she was surprised to see her kids and her sister. The mover revealed himself, Greg Benson, the host of Prank It FWD. He explained that her sister and employer set Simmons up for a day of pampering. The events of the day started to make sense, but that wasn't all. Finally, Benson surprised Simmons and her family with the keys to that very house. Simmons was absolutely stunned, but it was well deserved for someone who worked so hard for her family.